Hey, New City, and welcome back to the $5 Gift Club, where we believe that through small amounts, we can have a huge impact. This month, we sat down with Amber Maddie, a person who is making a real difference in the hospitals around us. Because of pregnancy complications, Amber and her husband needed to stay in the hospital for an extensive amount of time while their son was being taken care of. Through all of this inspired the nonprofit Closely Held. Closely Held looks to provide resources for families in the exact same situation while providing gas money, parking passes, food, and basic toiletries. Amber has an incredible story, and on top of that, we have a special gift in store for her. We cannot wait to show you how your generosity has made an impact this month. So I'm sitting here with my friend Amber. So Amber, why don't you start and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Great. So I'm Amber Maddie. I was born and raised outside of Philadelphia. Spent the better part of my first 18 years there. And then traveled down to Lakeland, Florida for college, where I met my husband back in 2000. Started a journey in ministry for 15 years. We have 3 beautiful children, Hannah, Isaac, and Luca. Yeah. Hannah is 12, Isaac is 8, and Luca is 2.
So I know your kids are a huge part of the story and what you're doing now.
Yes.
So you're running a nonprofit called Closely Held right now. So why don't you kind of tell us what brought you there and talk about your kids just for a second.
Sure. So my daughter Hannah was born in 2005.
Yeah.
She was happy, healthy, but after she was born, I got a call from a doctor when she was 6 weeks old, and it was one of those scary phone calls where they call you and they don't tell you why you're coming, just that the doctor wants to talk to you. Kind of a really intense time for us, and they told us that I didn't receive a very important shot that I needed. So we went through 6 months of testing and waiting, and they told us at the end of the 6 months, you're fine, everything's good. So we moved on from that, and 4 years later, we got pregnant with my son, Isaac. The pregnancy was normal until 34 weeks. And then at 34 weeks, I started having contractions and labor that was unexpected.
Yeah.
And that started an 8-year journey for us. Isaac was born with something called hemolytic disease of the newborn. And basically what had happened was I wasn't fine. And these antibodies that had formed 4 years earlier intensified throughout my pregnancy with him and were attacking his red blood cells. And as a result of that, he was born with anemia and jaundice that was extremely severe. And just started a journey of hospitals and doctors that changed my life, changed my husband's life, and kind of put us on a course for what I'm doing now. But when he was 6, we were blessed with our son Luca, which was what we call a planned surprise. And Luca, unfortunately, with the issues that we had with Isaac, each pregnancy intensifies. Man. And so we immediately knew that we needed to seek medical assistance right away. And from the start with Luca, they told us pretty much the worst of the worst. They didn't know if he was going to survive pregnancy. They didn't know whether or not, if he did survive, what his life would look like. Yeah. So we started seeing doctors every couple of weeks for ultrasounds and blood tests. And it became apparent when I was about 5 months pregnant. We were having some transitions with jobs. That we needed to come down to North Carolina. The number one specialist for this condition is at Duke. Yeah. And just by the grace of God, he plans everything. My parents had moved down here 6 months before to retire. So we moved down here when I was 5 months pregnant and started a very intense journey with Duke. And just going to the doctors on a regular basis. Yeah. Luca, we were able to get him all the way to 35 weeks gestation, which was a miracle in and of itself. Yeah. The doctors told us at about 26 weeks that the antibodies were about 1,000 to 1 of his blood cells. So it was God's grace and prayers of so many friends and family and people that we didn't even know just held him till that point. Once he was born, we spent about a month at Duke in the NICU and in the PED floors, working with their staff to get him to a place where he was able to come home. And then we spent another about year and a half back and forth to the doctors 3 to 5 times a week, just working on keeping him healthy. He had pneumonia and all kinds of things. So kind of crazy.
Man, but through all of that, you were inspired.
I was.
And so tell us a little bit about, what your organization does now to help those families who are sort of in your situation that you had years ago. What does that look like for y'all?
So during our time in the hospital, we saw that the resources that we needed practically to be able to really thrive during that time weren't communicated to us. So things like food and showers and places to stay, all those resources are available, but the hospitals have a hard time communicating that to the parents. So after the boys were healthy, I always knew I wanted to give back in some way, shape, or form. I knew that God uses our deepest pain for His glory. And so I started reaching out to different hospitals, and God put in my heart that there's got to be a way to communicate to families better, to be able to eliminate that stressor when they're in the hospital, because you have enough things to worry about while you're there. You don't need to worry about how am I going to pay for gas to get back and forth to the hospital? How am I going to pay for food, because now I'm eating every single meal there. So we have put together a way to work with hospitals to modify their websites so that families can find this information easily, that we can advertise it all over the hospital. And then we are raising funds to give out a gift to families when they are admitted that will give them parking passes, food, some comfort items, but then also the advertisement of these resources and how to find them, so that the rest of their time in the hospital goes smoothly. Yeah, man, that's so great. And I loved what you said about, man, in times of our suffering, in times of our pain, God does it for a purpose. It's not on accident. And so what's next for Closely Held? What's next in these upcoming months? How can we be praying as a church? So we've just gotten our 501c3 status,
which is
exciting. Awesome. We're so incredibly excited about that. So we now have the go to start fundraising for these hug bags, to raise funds to put these websites together. So just be praying for the fundraising part of it. We know our mission. God has opened doors, but just praying for the doors to stay open, for wisdom on our part on who to speak to, and then also just pulling those funds together to be able to create the bags. Yeah, that's great. And so I think your story is going to encourage a lot of people, especially a lot of people walking through difficult situations in life. But more than that, we actually invited you here because we have something called the $5 Gift Club. And so at New City Church, we invite every member to give an additional $5 or $10 on top of their monthly offering. And our friends at the DTM, Nicolette, actually sent me your info and said she would be an excellent recipient for this. And so we did want to hear your story, but especially with the fundraising, the hug bags that you're trying to do, I have a check for $291 and just a thank you note from New City about, man, you are making an impact in our community. And so we are grateful for that. So I just want to slide that over to you. And so we fibbed a little bit, but more than anything, we believe in what you're doing and we want to help that. We want to be a church in the community. And so we hope that helps. Thank you for sitting down with us. Thank you so much. We so appreciate it. Yeah.